What's up, everyone? Here I am again with another video. I feel like I never know how to. Start the intro to a video, so that's my introduction. Here I go. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that kind of popped in my head this morning. Sort of talked about it in the past, but it felt like it should be talked about again, but with maybe a different lens, and that is being sober. Now, of course, everybody has the right to live their life how they want to live it, whether that's being sober or, indulging in different substances, whether you want to say you're using it, for medicinal purposes or recreationally. But this morning I kind of was thinking that I think everybody should at least experience in their adult lifehood living 1 year completely sober, to see how it affects you and how your life kind of unravels within that year of sobriety and not using any sort of substances, not even like caffeine, just really being 100% sober, because so many people use some sort of substance or drug in their day-to-day life for whatever reason. But I think being sober for a year really allows you to kind of wipe the palate clean, hit the refresh button and give you new eyes, new perspectives on how you are living your life and how you can go on living your life. A lot of the times people get caught up in different substances or become, reliable on them or use them as a crutch to get through their life, and it can start to create problems, but they don't see that problem because they're just, blinded by it because they've had no space to reflect on their relationship with whatever substance they're using. I also find it kind of funny, this might piss some people off, or maybe it won't, that, a lot of people in like spiritual communities or have like a spiritual outlook on life, talk about healing your inner child, or, living your life with your inner child as your adult, but they're fucking doing, mushrooms or acid or ketamine or MDMA or smoking cannabis, every other weekend or whatever it may be, or sitting in ceremonies and whatnot. But I'm trying to get back to my inner child. But if you think about it, when you were a child, you weren't doing drugs or any sort of substances or plant medicines or whatever you want to call it. You were sober, and you were just living your life, enjoying it. And if you think about that, you had that childlike wonder, and you weren't worried about things. So if that's what you're trying to do, then you should probably be sober, because that's what you were as a child. You weren't fucking eating mushrooms and doing ayahuasca every few months. So I just kind of find it funny when people talk about that, and then I know they're doing like ayahuasca or acid or mushrooms or whatever it may be, like every so often, and they're referring to trying to heal their inner child. Just seems kind of contradictory to me. I think you need to be in a sober state of mind. If you want to heal aspects of yourself and really be in tune with your emotions. Otherwise, you're just kind of masking it with some sort of substance that is altering your base reality. And you can't really function if you're fucking getting high all the time, because that's really what it is. You're just getting high to escape whatever feelings you're trying to masquerade. So yeah, let's just be blunt with it. Try being sober for a year and then reevaluating your relationship with those substances. Because I bet you'll come to the realization that you're using it more as an escapism than a form of healing. I know that's what I was doing. Sure, they had their benefits, but definitely seeing way more growth in myself from being sober over the last 3 years instead of relying on whatever substance I was using in the past. For example, like, it's allowed me to expand on my music, where now I'm like regularly getting gigs 1 to 2 times a month, sometimes even more. I even traveled for the first time outside of like my region, to another part of the country to play a show. I'm, gotten out of my shell more, where I'm still introverted, but I'll, go out and do things, meet more people. I've met more friends. Yeah, it's just, overall my life has become so much better because I stopped doing it. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. I feel like everyone should try being sober for at least a year so they can evaluate their relationship with whatever substance they're using. You'll be able to see some of your blind spots that you weren't able to see before because you were, had your head in the sand so long, head in the smoke, whatever it may be. And I think it's just a good thing to do. If you feel like you can go back to doing the substance, do it. That's your choice. But I think maybe you'll use it way less frequently, if not at all. Anybody that I know that's gotten sober in their life, it's only benefited them. There's never been any real downside. I think people are just afraid because they're so attached to a substance, and they're afraid to break through it because they've attached their identity to it. So yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope this is helpful in any sort of way. I really encourage you to try this. And if you can't, then you should sit with that and think why you can't do it, because there isn't a reason why. You're just afraid.